Alrighty, here we are. We are back for another episode of the Bay Ragni Show. Happy Monday to you and yours. And I am joined today. I am so freaking excited. And yeah, the cat's here too. Don't mind the cat. I'm here with my new friend. Look, I even pointed to the right direction this time. I can't wait to freaking talk to this guy. I am so excited. In the last week, this guy came on my radar. Last week, thanks to good friends of mine, he was a guest on their show, Two Girls and Their Alcohol. We have no alcohol today, so I'm a little depressed. But, oh, look. What do you got? Oh, yes. Water. That's what I got.
And
I want to trade.
notice I took off the label.
That's a true professional, taking the label off. But I learned so much about this guy. This guy, he's a musician. He's done original music, played in Kiss tribute bands. He's making toys. He's making comic books. He's an artist. He's an author, writes books, inspirational books. He does inspirational talks of the day each day. And he's also a former brother of the Squared Circle like myself. Let's welcome to the show, Los Espada.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm
I'm happy to be
you.
here. Anytime you meet a fellow brother, it's great.
So now let's get into the whole wrestling because, you have a laundry list of everything that you're involved in.
Yes.
I would assume because your father and your uncle were both professional wrestlers. I guess that's where your whole world going into the entertainment business started with.
Absolutely. I mean, I was born into it. From the time I could remember, my father was always in the ring and traveling because back then wrestling was a territory, so he would travel a lot. And so from that time, even at like 5, 6 years old, I used to be in the dressing room, and I would charge the wrestlers $2 to bring back their robes and their capes to the dressing room. So my family, my dad is an entrepreneur, and the one thing he always taught me was the more you learn, the more you earn. So he not only was a wrestler, he was also a booking agent for wrestlers coming from other countries. So he would bring in all these workers. Yeah, so he'd bring in all these workers in, and then whenever we had I think her name was Princess Jasmine. She was coming in from, I think, Haiti or Africa. And the woman that she was supposed to wrestle flaked out. And so they gave my mother a 5-minute tutorial, and she went under her mask and wrestled and she was doing the jobs for all these female wrestlers that would come in.
No way.
Yeah. So, so it was hilarious. She had like my dad's boots on, like, and like this black mask. But she went in and this is the life we led. I mean, when you go to school and people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And everybody's saying fireman, policeman, doctor, I'm a wrestler, and they're like, you can't make money with that. I'm like, huh? My family. That was our living.
If we only listened to them, though, right?
Yeah. Then fast forward, getting beaten up for 50 cents, a match. It's just, but I like I said, I wouldn't trade any of that stuff for the world. I mean, so I grew up in entertainment. So I went from that to just the wrestling was in the family. So it was a natural progression.
So let me ask you: Are you hearing a crackling? Because I'm hearing a crackling when you're talking.
No, I don't. I don't know if it's hello now. Still?
Yeah, it's crackling. It just started.
I don't know.
It actually sounds like a cracked speaker. Maybe it's on my end. Maybe it's my headphone. I don't know.
Maybe have a popped headphone.
Okay, so now was it your father or both your father and uncle were the Silver Angel?
It was my father, my uncle, and one of their best friends. It was a trios, and then they became a tag team. And they actually did a movie. They were filming a movie, and I don't know what happened with it. It just fell by the wayside. But I would love to find that footage of whatever they filmed.
Because that's a huge thing. With the Mexican wrestlers, they're like TV stars. They're superheroes.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. Lucha Libre is a big community thing. So that was the beauty of it. And not only it was like kind of like what they were doing in the 50s and 60s in America. Like, Elvis had to do movies and songs, and it was the same thing. If you wrestled, you had to do a movie, you had to do a comic book, you had to do this, you had to do that. So it was like they made sure they got their money out of you, So so then that was the beginning of it, and I ended up, like, even now when I do my morning inspirations on Instagram, the mask I wear is my father's mask, so that's kind of keeping him with me as I'm doing my morning motivationals.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Now, did you ever get the chance to get in the ring with your dad?
No, unfortunately, he retired way before I got in the ring, and and then he was just done with it, and understandably so, because when a lot of people don't, a lot of people will say, well, it's predetermined, and all that, you hear it's the F word, and but and anybody who even tries to get in the ring, it's like being in a car accident every day of your life. That ring is not forgiving. It's not a mattress. The foam, if you're lucky, the foam is about that thick. And then if you go to Mexico, there's no foam at all. It's pure canvas and wood and metal.
Yeah. No, thank you. The rings here were bad enough.
Especially with the low budget ones. Ropes would break, planks shot up out the floor. Yeah, it was like being in a haunted house.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So who did you go? I guess you went to a wrestling school, or who trained you?
Inferno Lewis. He trained me. He was an older guy. He was already semi-retired by the time he trained me, and it was just he just took me to this place that he had a ring, nothing fancy, no school name. He kind of took a shine in me, and he trained me, and because he was older, he beat the hell out of me. I'll tell you that much. Like when I would work against the younger guys, they would kind of powder puff you, But when you wrestle the older guys, they beat the hell out of you, and man, they hurt. I used to go home with knots on my head, But it was to me, it was part of the process. So I learned from that aspect, and I kind of kept that in my head, like selling it and really connecting.
Right. So now you were a worker for, was it 3-4 years, and then you had an injury?
Oh, 3 neck injury, spinal stenosis. So I have 5 C4 C6. So that was it.
Yeah.
So no more.
So much for those free hot dogs, right?
Yeah, free hot dogs, the free shriveled up hot dogs, stale bread, and warm flat soda.
Now, what years was this that you were doing that?
Oh, I'm bad with years. I'll tell you, to be honest with you, it was early 2000s. I know I was still married at the time.
Okay.
And it's funny because everybody always asks me, I'm terrible. Like even with the Kiss band when we were touring, my guitar player at the time, he could tell you exactly where we played, what state, and what city, the name of the venue. They say, hey, you played Louisiana? Yeah, where? I don't know. I just showed up and played, But I got to start writing this down eventually because I want to put together a book. So I got to try to backtrack all that stuff. I have video footage of it and stuff, so I have to go through the archives and look at the timestamps and see what the hell is what.
So, all right. So, when you retire from pro wrestling, were you already involved in the world of music at that point, or?
It started slowly going that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So it happened with it was like a Kiss convention in New Jersey, and I decided I was just gonna go dressed up as Gene Simmons. Didn't think anything of it. And when I walked in, everybody flipped out. Like everybody was taking pictures, and I didn't. And I thought I looked good. I didn't think, but everybody was, And then I got offered by a few tribute bands to join them, and then I filled in for one tribute band. It was Kiss Army. I was gonna do a fill-in gig with them, but I just didn't like the fact that everything was so painted into a little box. Like you couldn't do anything past 1977. It had to be the original lineup. It had to be these songs. It had to be this look. I don't do well with that because that just means you're following the herd. I wanted to do something completely different. So I ended up, I was like, I don't want to bother with them. And I auditioned for another band and I heard the same spiel. And I just I jammed with them once or twice and I was like, forget it. And the drummer from that my friend, he's a great friend of mine now, Gerard Russo. He called me up and he said, "Don't leave me alone with these guys, man. Come on, man." So, I said, all right. So I said, well, we're going to have to get rid of these two guys eventually because one guy doesn't want to play outside of New Jersey and one guy had no amplification. It was a really bad situation. So what I ended up doing was at the time Kiss had they had the Kiss tribute bands were allowed to post on their official website.
Okay.
And so when I looked on there, it was like 200 bands. Everybody had the Love Gun costumes on. The only thing different was the name, but everybody looked the same. You couldn't tell one band from the other. The set list was, Alive 1, Alive 2, Alive 1, Alive 2. So I wanted to do something different. And at the time, my friend Gerard was more of an Eric Carr guy. Now, for me, Eric Carr was big because that's the first concert I went to. My dad took me to the Palladium. We saw Eric Carr, and I was floored. I had never seen Peter Criss to the reunion tour. So I said, well, you know what? Creatures was my favorite album. Let's do Creatures. And everybody's like, you sure? I was, yeah, why not? Fuck it, who cares? And we did songs from every era. We didn't care. It was like, we're celebrating Kiss. We're not celebrating just one facet. Kiss has a huge catalog. So we ended up, doing all these, and we were the first. And I remember when we first posted the promo photo with our drummer as Eric Carr and us in the Creatures costume, every band poo-pooed it. Oh, nobody wants to see that. Everybody's the original four, blah, 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 blah. But my thinking was, here's an alternative to what everybody's doing. And Eric Carr was not really seen in makeup in the U.S.
Right.
The Creatures tour was a failed tour. So it was Unmasked. It did better overseas, but it didn't do well here. So this was a chance for people to relive that moment of time that's lost within history. Even within their bootlegs, there's only very small snippets of Creatures. And then we had the stage, we had the tank drum riser and the whole 9 yards, and it just took off. And then from there, that's when we got, from that noise that we were making, that's when we started getting the phone calls from Kiss.
Now that's even more crazy because then I see this was Kiss Nation, right?
This was Kiss Nation, yeah.
Okay. So, and then I see you guys are on a VH1 show, and Gene and Paul come see you guys play the Whiskey.
Yeah. VH1 did a documentary on the band. At one time, I think I was like, there's probably footage somewhere. There's probably like a good 20 shows that Gene and I were together all the time, doing different interviews in different segments. We were on Fox together, CNBC, MSNBC, WPIX, in New York. So we were just, anytime he was in New York, I was with him. So we would always do these press junkets together. Now, if you know the story, I grew up in Spanish Harlem. We were pretty much poor. And I remember wanting those Kiss plastic costumes,
Sure.
And we couldn't afford it. Costumes. So, yeah. And we couldn't afford them, so my mother used her lipstick and made me up, and that was it. Now, had you told that little guy, you'll be hanging out with Gene Simmons,
right?
I would have never believed it, So not bad for somebody who was considered good, who's going to be a failed artist.
So, I mean, you can see, I mean, so far, just these two worlds going into, these other things that you're involved in, you can see that, number one, without a doubt, your father is your biggest inspiration. But number two, you truly follow in the footsteps of Gene Simmons as an entrepreneur with all these different things you're involved in.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's the few that are my inspirations is Gene Simmons, Jim Henson, Walt Disney. Guillermo del Toro is a big influence in me as well. And these are all, the whole thing is, and Stan Lee, of course. So, when you take, it's funny because everybody likes in this, especially in this society, everybody puts everybody in columns. So you're in column and column and column. So when you look at somebody, you go, oh, you work as a chef. You're just a chef in their eyes. It doesn't matter what you do. You have no other aspirations. You're not looking to do anything else. You're just a chef, and that's it. And that's the same way people look at musicians or an artist, like, oh, you're an artist and that's it. No, I everybody asks me how do you keep all these things lined up, and how do you do all these things? And my thought process is, how do you not? We have one life. We have one life. I want to do as much as I can to inspire others, through my children's books that are educational, inspire others through music, through art, and it's never, the whole thing is, a lot of people get in the mindset, oh, it's too late for me because blah, blah, blah. Right. It's never too late. It's only too late when you give up, so it's true. Very true. I love it. I mean, I think that gives me a charge every time I do a project and I'm working on something. It makes me excited, so it's something that I generally love. It's not something that I'm doing to get rich. Now, if I get rich, that'd be fantastic. But, that's not the goal. Is to leave a legacy behind for my family, for my nephews and my nieces, for them to maybe take on when I'm not here.
Right. So were you doing, like, when you started getting into the Kiss tribute world, were you playing in original bands at that time, or cover bands, or anything?
No, not at all. Not at all. Really? I went straight from that into I hired a friend of mine who was a real talented musician, and he lived with me for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I would go to work, come home, move all the furniture, and work on playing Gene Simmons, and watch the videos and watch his mannerisms, and then watch how he talks. And he talks kind of like this and kind of nasally. And then, so you do all these things. I was just watching nonstop. I even got the hair helmet. See,
you did. I mean, you can pass for Gene Simmons. You're really good.
So
with the goatee, you're like Revenge era Gene Simmons.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what everybody said. Well, it's funny because my girlfriend and I went into a pizzeria the other day, and out of the blue, the guy making the pizza goes, "Gene Simmons." So we just started laughing, But yeah, it became like an actor studying for a role. Like, I really wanted to. I love playing the demon. I love putting on the makeup. I love really getting into that character. And a lot of guys think it's the makeup and the bass, and no, there's a lot to his mannerisms. There's a lot to the way he talks. There's a lot to the way he moves, and like all these things are the things that I studied really hard and diligently. And people would. That was the thing that Kiss fans loved about Kiss Nation, especially because they were like, "Wow, you guys really paid attention to not only who they are, but who they are on stage, and then off stage as well." So it's kind of like the wrestling thing: don't break the kayfabe. Keep it going. So it all ties in.
it really, I mean, because I was involved with music before I went into wrestling, and then once I got involved with wrestling, I was like, oh my God, it's like the music stuff all over again, and it really does go
it's
like
really
that.
The same. It's the same world. Sell tickets. You got to sell tickets. You got to work for peanuts. You got to. It's all this. It's the same. You hear the same spiel in all facets of entertainment. Even if you're an actor, you got to pay your dues and do this role for exposure. So it all kind of lines up, and it's all the same. So that's why when I say arts, I say art as everything, music, and it's all the same. It's a form of art, and it's all the same BS crap that you deal with all the way through.
You said a mouthful there. So all right. So at what point then? Because I know, like, I've seen in like other interviews and videos and things about you, like your backstory. Like as I'm looking at this stuff, I'm like, yeah, I picture like again the similarities of me and you, like being that kid of the '70s, growing up with our Mego toys and all the comic books and all that stuff, because I'm always seeing you with like King Kong shirts and Godzilla and stuff like that. At what point then do you turn around and say, oh, I want to get into the world of comics and toys?
Oh, the thing was, and that's funny because when I was a kid, I think I was like maybe 7 or 8. We were already living in Queens at that time.
Okay.
I used to actually draw. I used to collect I used to not collect, but we would shoplift G.I. Joe figures because they were small. You could put them right in your pocket.
Right,
so we would go to Maze, which doesn't exist anymore, And that was the bootleg Macy's. It was like the ghetto version of Macy's, Mays, Mays. And we would go and we would steal muscles, the little muscle guys, and the GI Joes because they was fit in your pocket. And because we couldn't afford them, you couldn't really afford an action figure. Your choices were you eat or you get an action figure, but you can't do both. So eating was a little more important. So I would draw GI Joe designs and send them in all the time to I believe Hasbro had that license, and I would send these just, and I'm sure they were probably like throwing them in file 13, throwing them in the garbage, and I wanted to be a toy designer since I was a kid.
Wow.
So fast forward to at the time I was a manager for an art store in New York, and this guy came in. He kind of looked like a demented Ricky Martin, and he came in with these guys at all, and I'm like, man. So I was sketching a flyer for a Kiss Nation show.
Okay.
And he comes up to me, goes, "You're a Kiss fan?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, my company is working on a Kiss project." And I was like, "Really? Your company?" He said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, Art Asylum." So he gave me his card. His name is Digger. He gave me his card, and I gave him a call, and he invited me to the studio, and they brought out these 2-foot Kiss dolls and asked me to critique them. And I critiqued them up and down, left and right. And he was like, "You want a job?" I'm like, "Yeah." So that's how I got into the toy industry, and because of that, we got to work on stuff from Star Wars to Star Trek to DC Comics, Marvel, Kiss, Ozzy, Iron Maiden, Eminem the rapper, not the candy. And we did, I would have, that was a something that I dreamt of since I was a little kid. And then to actually be in this world now, so then I kept bugging them about working with Kiss again. And then that's what led us to do the mini mates and the Kiss in the Box figures. And
okay.
So, and then that at that time was right when I started getting noticed by Kiss, because all these, everywhere I went, like Metal Edge magazine had a photo of me, because I look like Gene Simmons, and so it became this big thing. So then at one point I get a phone call, and I think I covered this on Two Girls and Their Alcohol. I got a phone call from Tommy Thayer. At the time, he was their manager. He was their manager. He was their road manager, and he had said, he goes, "Hey, this is Tommy Thayer. Gene wants you to do an interview with him in a morning show." So I was like, "Ha ha ha, yeah, all right, good one." He's like, "No, for real, like we're gonna send a car to pick you up." And so I said, "Dude, if this is a joke, somebody on the other line is gonna be in a lot of trouble, because it takes 2 hours to get makeup and costume. So for me to do that, and then so to be ready by 5, that means I got to be up like 3 o'clock, getting in makeup and costume. Good thing I don't sleep much, so." True to the word.
How could you with everything you do?
Yeah, I can't shut my brain off. I try. I'll be laying down now. I'll shut everything down, and then all of a sudden I get an idea for a book and a storyline. Oh yeah, jot that down and go off to the races. Then it's then it's up all night and the birds are chirping. I'm like, shit. But yeah, true to his word, and that was from that day forward. It was off to the races. Wherever Gene was doing something in New York, I was right there. Right beside him. And that was the biggest dream come true, to say that I actually have the phone number of somebody that I had posters all over my wall of.
Right.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So keep dreams come true, everybody.
Absolutely. So, all right. So after, well, then I guess as you're working with this company that's doing all these figures and stuff like that, so you start working on your own then.
Yeah. Well, we started that while that was going on. I had 3 things going on at the time. I was doing the toy company. I was doing Kiss Nation, and then I was doing, I had a wrestling promotion called Wrestling Worldwide. And that was a promotion me and my dad started, and that was actually started with the idea of bringing wrestling to inner city kids. So we would actually set up a wrestling ring in the projects and have wrestling shows, for free, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and we got a lot of awards from the state of New York for bringing entertainment to inner city kids, so that got paused when Dad unfortunately got sick with cancer. So we had to kind of stop and focus on him getting well. And then we never got back to it because unfortunately he ended up passing. But
sorry.
it was thank you. But yeah, it was a cool thing to do. So it was like all these worlds are like intertwining.
Sure.
So it's a good thing I could multitask that way.
So, all right. So like I mean, you see the stuff in the background now. It's the things that you work on.
Yes.
I got to ask the question, and maybe I shouldn't because it's really nobody's business. But I said, I want to fucking know. Do you work a day job? Like, do you have a day job you actually do beside all this stuff? Like, because I'm trying to like.
Actually, I do. I actually do. The reason I left the toy industry because I wanted to do all these things. Rock and Roll Brat was something I had in my mind for years. Same thing with Supergroup Go. But I couldn't do that because at the time I was working for a toy company, and had I done that, they would have owned the rights for it. So I kind of kept it. I would design stuff at home and then keep it in a folder and a file. And I would wait, and then you unfortunately, and a lot of us do this, a lot of people get complacent for a little while when the checks are good. You're getting good money from working in the toy industry, and you're working on all these cool things. But it was kind of a nagging thing. And then at the time there was a lawsuit going on between the company I was working with and another company that led them to kind of strong arm all the artists that were there and stuff. So I was like, you know what, this is not for me. I want to do my own thing. I know people that are still in the industry, and a lot of them, God bless, they're amazing artists, but they don't have any passion or desire to do anything of their own. They're happy making their check and working on their thing. For me, Rock and Roll Brat, Supergroup Go, they were just constantly tapping on my shoulder. It was like a constant. So I was like, I gotta get it out there before somebody else does. And sure enough, so the day job pays for the book releases and all that stuff. And yeah, I do have a day job. And I always say, if you're going to give a company 8 hours, you're damn sure give yourself at least 6 to work on your dream. Because if you don't work on your dream, somebody's going to pay you to work on theirs, as the old saying goes.
That's true.
So
wow, that's okay. I don't know how the hell you do it. I'm very freaking impressed.
Lots of coffee.
There you go.
No, it's a desire. It's a desire. That's what keeps me going. Honestly, that's it. And hey, listen. Some people, I may work my whole life and nothing come of this. Tomorrow, you can get a phone call from Disney, and poof, get you off to the races.
Right.
So the success doesn't happen overnight. That's over years. But one deal can happen overnight, and it could change your life. Exactly. Dave Chappelle spoke about that. He said by the time he got his contract for Comedy Central, he had negative $3 in his bank account.
Wow.
So, everything I do focuses on the dream. I mean, I've not eaten in order to make sure I get a product out. And to me, it's not a sacrifice. It's me trying to invest in my dreams.
Here you go. Can you make a figure of you playing Gene? That's a Kiss item we haven't had yet.
I would love to. I'm sure Gene might not like that. I might look better than him, but no. But actually, oddly enough, the Kiss in the Box figure that we had, I was actually the model for the Gene Simmons one.
Oh, that's funny.
There is kind of a statue of me as Gene Simmons if you look at the Kiss in the Box, because we had the Destroyer armor, so they had me pose, do the Destroyer pose, and make the face, and that's what they ended up using for the Kiss in the Box.
That's funny.
And I'm actually Sabretooth statue. They had me pose for Sabretooth from X-Men. So yeah, so there's two pieces out there with that. Yeah.
Now, how about I saw I think you actually had a real mask done, but I saw like figure of it too. A Gene Simmons Lucha mask. Did you design that?
Yes. Yeah, that was actually, it's kind of cool. Actually, I have it behind me here. It's actually kind of cool. I wanted to marry two influences. So if you look at it, it's actually the let me kind of get it. It's actually the Silver Angel motif with the jean
Okay.
design around it. So it has the wings, it has the Silver Angel design, but it has jeans design, and in the back it says the Silver Angel. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
love it.
yeah, I had that. I had that made, kind of just like a cool little marriage between both worlds, you know.
That's cool. That is
And
very
that's not
cool.
the only. I'm working on a few more, but yeah, kind of like the Mysterio thing, like show up with different kind of masks that pay homage to the things you grew up on. I got to figure
I
out how to make the Muppet one, but I'm not sure just yet.
so okay, so you do all this stuff, and then you sandwich in. You're also an author too, and you're writing books.
Yes, yes. I actually wrote. I have, I think, I think there's 14 books currently out now. Most on Amazon.
14 books.
Most on Amazon. A lot of it is children oriented.
Okay.
I have a series called Learning with Lucha, and
Hmm.
that's kind of my take on education. So the first book is ABCs, and each character, like, A is for avocado, but the avocado got a little wrestling mask on and stuff like
Uh,
that. And then I have one, two, threes, and then colors.
okay.
And they're working on an activity book for that now. Rock and Roll Brat, the first lady, where she's at here. This is the first lady of Los Espada Enterprises. So I'm waiting for her. I'm waiting for her to have a float in the Macy's Day Parade. That would be badass. Imagine this skull just floating over New York City. That'd be great. But yeah, she's my darling. I started out with her. She was just gonna be a fashion clothing line that I was working on, and then it started out as a little skull with pigtails, because that was going to be my answer to Hello Kitty. So that was going to be like,
Okay.
my kind of American stamp on Hello Kitty version. So because I love how Hello Kitty, their fan base is from like toddlers to
Hmm.
adult women, which I think is fantastic. So I kind of wanted to give everybody kind of that, an American style of that, like a rock and roll, cool clothing for girls, and so I ended up deciding. I said, well, how do I get this out there more? And then I decided to do a children's book on it.
Okay.
So it's Rock and Roll Brat and the Kids, and the first book is about every issue is about the power of imagination. So the first one, they're
Mm.
playing this giant rock concert, and then then you see what they see is actually their little toys sitting around them in a garage, and they're just playing with baseball bats and cardboard
Uh,
guitars and stuff. So hopefully, I'm trying to make that into an animated series. That's the push for Rock and Roll Brat, clothing line animated series. Maybe a deal with Sephora. Hint, hint. Um, and then Supergroup Go is everything we grew up on. I threw it in a blender. He-Man, Godzilla, Kiss, Thundercats, everything you could imagine. G-Force, Godzilla, and a hit blend, and that's Supergroup Go. There's giant mechs, there's giant monsters, they wear wrestling masks, their instruments become weapons. So it's all, it's basically Kiss meets Power Rangers. That's the goal with Suit. And that I'm pushing that to actually be a live action television series. That's the goal for that.
that would
And
be
then
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So then I could put them on tour, and they all wear masks, so I could put them on every continent.
Look at you.
And and then I did a book called When Love Dies. That was actually written as a stage play
Okay.
while I was still living in New York. And we tried to put the production together, and it was just way too much money with union costs and rentals, and so I figured if I make it into a book, then maybe somebody may like it enough to do a movie or a play out of it. And
Wow.
that one is about the struggles of postpartum depression on
Mm.
a family. So that
Okay.
one's a roller coaster ride. That
That's
one
deep.
edit
That's deep. You're going from
that was a roll.
you know,
Yeah, one
monsters of
extreme
different
to
kinds here.
one extreme to the other. Yeah, exactly. But that's good. It shows you that I have the one thing I always wanted to show, especially as a writer, is that I can stretch. I didn't want
Mm.
to only be like, hey, this guy writes comic books, because I've written comic books for other artists. Indie 184, who's a famous graffiti artist. I did her comic book for her, and that
Okay.
comic book is Indie Destroys is a comic book, and that it's in galleries around the world. So I'm really proud of that because she's a famous graffiti artist. And when Love Dies is just it's really a roller coaster ride of emotions, and it really sucked having to edit that over and over again because then you start crying and I had to watch like a lot of happy movies after I was when I was done with that. And now I'm working on my dad's autobiography and also a sci-fi trilogy. So,
All right. So I mean, you do all these different things. Is it like, do you set time each day? Like, all right, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on this. Like, do you break it up, or is it just like as it comes to you, that's when you start working on it?
Normally I will break it up. I'll keep kind of like at least a loose schedule. Say, okay, I'm going to work on this today, or pages of that, or if I'm doing a painting or whatever.
Hello. Pages of
yeah. And sometimes that goes right out the window because I'll get so I'll start on something and it starts to roll. So I don't want to break the momentum. So the planning sometimes is just, all right, next, just keep it going. We'll get back to that tomorrow. So, and then, I utilize my time. If I have a 15-minute break at work, I'll use that to do something. If I have a half an hour lunch break, I'll use that to do something, or at least jot down ideas. So, we all got the same 24 hours in a day. It just matters what we do with it.
This is true. Very true. Yeah. Huh. Okay, so now you're living in Florida. How long have you been in Florida for?
A little over a year now.
Oh, okay.
Over a year now, and it was a much needed move. It was a much needed move, but I enjoy it. I love it out here so far. I mean, the music and the arts are very celebrated here in Orlando, which is great.
Now, you mentioned somebody last week on Two Girls and Their Alcohol. Now, you're friends with a friend of mine, and if you see this guy, I want you to freaking smack him for me, Jerry D. Jerry D.
He's in Kiss It. That's my guitar player. He's also in Revolt. He's in my original band as well. I love the guy to death.
I love that guy to death too. Smack him for me and kick him in his ass.
Well, he might be watching this right now, so I don't know.
All right, well, Jerry, if I ever see you, I'm gonna smack you.
But we may be playing up there soon, so you might have.
Well, I'm not up there no more.
Oh, wait,
I moved too. I'm in Nashville.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I saw that. That was almost where I ended up. I almost ended up in Nashville. I have very good friends out there, and I almost ended up there as well. Great place for music and art as well.
It is. It's amazing. I've been here almost 3 years now. I love it.
Nice.
Best thing I ever did.
Yeah. So if we play Nashville, I'll let you know. I'll give you a backstage
Absolutely.
pass. I won't tell Jerry.
he'll just get smacked. Be like, what the hell?
Yeah. Just say I'll videotape it so we can put it on YouTube.
Okay, so you guys are doing Kiss It, which is okay. So, did you know Jerry before you moved down there, or it just happened to work out?
Oddly enough, we were in rival tribute bands. He was in a band called Kissteria in Jersey and Philly. They played like Jersey and Philly a lot, and Kiss Nation was in New York. So we were kind of like, so we knew of each other.
Okay.
And but we never actually. I think we met in passing once, and then he was like, "Well, you kind of blew me off." I was like, "Oh, you were the competition."
It's funny. I would hear from like Jerry or Chris, who was in Kissteria with them. Like they would always be like, "Oh, dude, you don't realize there's like a whole drama world of Kiss tribute bands."
Yeah. Well, and honestly, that was the thing that kept us. That was the thing Kiss loved about us the most. We never got involved in any of that. We never slung mud. People would sling mud at us all the time. People would.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then when I started working with Simmons, things got kind of racial. People would, make Latin jokes and all kind of stuff, And actually, enough, we played a place. I think it was in Tennessee or Alabama, and the promoter he goes, "Oh, so you're the manager of the band, right?" I said, "No, I play Gene Simmons as well." He goes, "But your name is Latin. How does a Latino play a Jew?" I said, "Well, you'll have to see, and then you let me know." And then when we got there, when the show was over, he was like, "This is my favorite Latino." Like he was buying me drinks all night. Everything was on the house. He treated me well, But I didn't take it. I just took it with a grain of salt. Growing up, that you hear it all that stuff all the time. But Yeah, that's how Jerry and I, and then Jerry, oddly enough, when I moved to Florida, we were doing a fill-in show for another Kiss tribute band, and Jerry and
Okay.
I haven't done it in about a year, and Jerry was out of it for like 12 years or something like that,
Yeah.
and so the band they called me, they were like, "Yo, we're doing this show at the Hard Rock Seminole. It's a tribute wars show, and we need a Gene Simmons," and I said, "Fine, I'm in." So I was like, "Great, I get to come to Florida. I get to do a show," you know. And Jerry actually picked me up because I didn't have a car at the time.
Okay.
And that was the best thing that ever happened. That whole ride, it was like almost, I think, like almost 2 hours. That whole ride, it was just it was like we knew each other for 20 years. The way we had the same thought process about bands, and so it was fantastic. And then that was
Plus,
it.
Jerry's into that whole world too of the comics and
Absolutely,
Godzilla, King
yeah,
Kong
yeah.
toys, and
It should have been called Two Geeks in a Car. That's what it, if you filmed it, it would be two geeks in a car hearing the Planet of the Apes conversations and Kiss
uh,
and Godzilla and blah blah and horror
he used
movies
to
and
have the coolest
you know,
story over in South Jersey. I used to lose my mind when I would
yeah,
go
the
over there.
retro station.
Yeah,
He's considering doing that down here. I hope he does. But yeah,
he's
I
got
heard
to.
it was I heard nothing but great things about it. Everybody that
Mhm.
used to go there like, oh yeah. And I was like, I said I knew the name when everybody said it, and I was like, I know the guy, but I don't know, I couldn't place it. And then when we met, it was just like it was kismet when we met. It was like two brothers that it was like twins. We were like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, just meeting for
That's
the first
funny.
time. But it was
That's
hilarious,
funny.
and we, he said, hey man, I want to put another tribute band together down here. I got a killer drummer, and I was like, I'm in, you know, I'm in because his thought process of playing in a band was the same as mine.
Right.
And as you know, everything, even just as wrestling is,
Mhm.
you have to you have to be able to trust the person you're in a situation with, whether it's in the ring or whether it's on stage. You
Yeah.
know, I've unfortunately played in bands where people were using drugs and stuff like that, and I knew immediately after that incident. I said, now I see why Simmons and Stanley are so dead set against playing with people who are impaired. It's
Yeah.
it's a disaster. It's embarrassing.
Mhm.
It shits on the product. So you want to keep people that are there to make sure you shine. We all shine
Yeah.
because nobody remembers a bad musician. They use the band as a collective. Oh, that band, oh man, they're terrible. Oh, and
Mhm.
you're just guilty by association. So the lineup we have now is fantastic. I couldn't be happier. And
Nice.
everybody has the same mindset. All touring musicians, all guys who've been in the industry for a long time. So
Wow.
it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Now you guys are doing an original band too, or
Yeah, we have a band called Revolt, which
okay?
I had that band in New York City, and the band was pretty much like Kiss. We all wore mask and costume outfits, stage outfits and stuff.
Oh,
And we
cool.
have we did. We kind of wanted to do the band that we didn't see anymore. Like, where is the next Kiss?
Right.
Where's the next? Where are these next guys? So we decided we were going to do that, and we ended up opening for a lot of Joe Lynn Turner. We
Wow.
opened for Bullet Boys,
Okay.
Kor Rosnick. We opened for a few national acts, and then the band, unfortunately, my cousin who was the guitar player, he ended up not wanting to do the music anymore, and we
Mm.
just had a hard time finding a guitar player. Then I just like, we kind of put a nail in the casket. So then coming down here after meeting Jerry and saying he's in the same crazy mindset of bands that I'm in, he was
Mhm.
in the Prima Donnas, he was in,
Yeah.
and they had a very much had a look as well. So I
Mhm.
was like, this guy gets it. So this guy is in. Like, so he loved the
Yeah.
music, and basically we are going to restart Revolt down here as well. So
Cool.
it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. I love doing the
That's
Kiss thing, but I love just being on stage regardless.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
As Paul Stanley said, I'm not the ham, I'm the whole pig.
Oh, that's freaking awesome. Did- So, all right. So, what do you have that you're? What's the thing you're working on right this minute? Like when you
Right
get done
this
this
minute,
interview, when you get done, what are you doing tonight? What are you working on?
two things: Rock and Roll Brat Book Two, which is
Okay.
way overdue, and I'm probably gonna start painting a Rock and Roll Brat travel cup for my girlfriend that she asked me to paint. So,
Wow.
and then if that And if I'm done with that, I also have a book called LOS Quotes, so I'm doing volume 2 to that as well. So half that's already halfway done.
Wow, dude.
So I run the marathon.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
I run the
It is a
marathon.
marathon. It absolutely is.
I love every minute of it. It's it fulfills me. It fulfills me. So these are my children. I have no children. These are my kids.
Okay, so now let's take it a step further. Now you're
Yes.
doing all these 18 different things, right? Okay, doing that work is a lot of work, and it's also a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work,
Yes.
and you're all over the place. Let's enter in something else that
Okay.
you got to do. Now this is something that you have to do the other stuff.
Right.
Social media. How the hell are you finding time on top of it to do social media? Because you have 18 different social media pages.
I swear I lost count of how many IG pages I actually owned because each book has an IG page. Each project has an IG page.
I was like, wait a minute. They kept popping up at one after. I was like, wait a minute. Whoa. Like,
man, that's more work than anything else.
yeah.
The constant content. That's more work than anything else. And and
Are
on
you
top
on
of that,
TikTok? Are you on
yes,
TikTok? Oh, he's on
TikTok, Twitter,
He's on TikTok.
IG,
Yeah.
Facebook.
Come on.
Only thing I'm not on is Snapchat. I haven't done Snapchat yet. That's the only thing I'm not on, but I'm on everything else. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook, I have multiple accounts as well. For each page has a different thing. So it's daunting. That's a job within itself.
You need a whole corporate office with a spew of people working for you.
I would love that. That's the idea. The idea is to eventually have what kind of what Henson had. When in the very early days, Henson had a building in New York, and each floor was a different department. So you had the Muppet, you had the designers, the creators, the fabricators, the set builders, and everybody was kind of within that same hub. That would be a dream come true, to be honest with you. I would love that. But it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of I say work, but I don't really consider it work. To me, it's harder doing an 8-hour job than it is staying up late and doing this. But the 8-hour job pays for this stuff. And then on top of that, I also have my nonprofit organization that I'm putting together. So that's another project. Yeah, it's called Wrestling with Literacy. So we're gonna bring famous wrestlers to meet inner city children, and they get a story. They're gonna do like a story time, and then at the end of it, they get a book, a throw blanket. They get to take a photo with the wrestler and get autographs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so kind of taking what we did with Wrestling Worldwide and bringing a facet of that into literacy, because unfortunately, a lot of these kids can't go to Comic-Con and pay $250 for a photo, and or I mean, you go to Madison Square Garden, your $150 buys you up by the rafters, and then if you have a family, that's $50 a T-shirt, $20 for popcorn, $10 for a soda, so how do you pay your rent and take your kids out to something they enjoy?
So a lot of times
so a lot of times they can't do it. So I try to do something. I always try to pay it forward. I always try to pay it forward because I know what it was like to be that kid. Even though I was lucky enough to live with a pro wrestler, but we were still, after he left and my parents got divorced, we were dirt poor. So you try to just pay it forward.
Do you know Danny the Pharaoh, who plays an angel now?
Yes.
I was gonna say you have to know him. I mean, he's like in the same cloth as you.
Yeah. I think we met twice, I think, in passing.
Okay.
But yeah. So it's a small world. It's not big at all. You'd be surprised at how many people know people by degrees of separation, or so that's why always, as they say, keep your words short and sweet. You may have to eat them later.
It's true.
And
that is so true.
and from the wrestling industry how that can go.
And it don't taste good.
Turd sandwich is terrible.
Carlos, yeah, this has been great, man, talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming into my world. I'm really looking forward to our friendship. I'm looking forward to you smacking Jerry.
I'll videotape it for you.
and I'm looking forward to everything that you're working on and releasing. And I got the down here. Everybody, check it out. The link tree, Los Espada art, where it just unravels into a world.
The link tree is about that big. And you better have like a few hours to go down that rabbit hole. That's for sure.
That's when you sent me the email earlier. You were like, "Hey, is this the link?" That's exactly what I was doing. I was going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, because you're like, "Oh, he did this, and did this, and then the YouTube channel is like the interviews, the motivational blog, and da. So yeah, it's. I like to stay busy, say the least, just a little bit. But also a very important thing is balance. And I've learned that over the years, so I learned how to balance, life and then work. You have to learn how to balance that because I've sabotaged many, I'm sure I've sabotaged many relationships and friendships with how much intensity it is what I do. So I try to now I learn how to balance it, so, when me and my girlfriend go away, it's us for the weekend. We have, turn everything off, enjoy our time together, and there's other times, you can go balls to the wall, but you have to be present in the moment. And if we're not present in the moment, we never know when that moment's going to come back. And listen, tomorrow's not promised. We may go to sleep and not wake up. Unfortunately, some people do.
It's true.
So, learn to balance family and relationships are very, very important. So keep them strong, keep communication open, and also comprehending one another, because communication is one thing, but comprehension is another. And give people your time that are willing to give you theirs, because that's a precious gift. It's something we can't get back. You can't, no matter how rich you are, you can't buy time. So enjoy it while you can.
Again,
vote
you said another mouthful.
Vote for me.
Got my vote. Definitely got my vote. Carlos, thanks so much for doing this, man. Let's keep in touch. We're believe me, we're going to be in touch now. We're friends now on 18 different platforms. So,
God bless you. I think you follow every IG page as well.
When I find them, I follow them. So
I don't think my family even follows all of them. I think they just gave up. But the hilarious thing is, people go, "Oh, you do so many things I can't keep up." I'm like, "Well, who are you a fan of?" "Oh, I love Johnny Depp." "How many things?" He's doing this, he's doing that. I said, "How do you know all the stuff he's doing? You don't even know him. You know me. Come on."
Yeah.
But support your friends the way you support famous people, and you can support the famous as well, but support your friends. We're all trying out there. The stars of tomorrow are here today, so we got to kind of push everybody. I always try to push my friends in whatever they're doing in their endeavors as much as possible.
I'll tell you what, I try not to go down that hole, because
it gets crazy.
Well, I'm like, I got 2,500 friends on Facebook, but hello.
Yeah.
I don't need to say anymore.
I'm not gonna even add to that. I'm gonna leave that right where you left it. That's a post-it
right
on the wall.
Says it all. Carlos, thank you. Great talking to you. And
talking to you, sir.
I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Everybody, check out his link tree. Go down that rabbit hole.
Peace
Support
and love,
him.
and everybody be well, appreciate one another, and be kind to each other. It's free and it's simple to do.
It is. And check out his morning little motivational things of beauty that he shares.
Yes, thank you. I do them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, so you can find them on either platform. And I think I used to do them on YouTube. I got to put them back on YouTube. So it's just one more thing to do it before I have my coffee in the morning.
Of course. Come
Why
on,
not?
get that YouTube going, though.
Yeah. But thank you again, and everybody.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you
man.
so much for your support and your love. Thank you for even watching this and my bananas crazy self. But I appreciate all of you.
All right, man. Have a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Have a great night. Peace.